Good evening. We call our meeting to order. At this time, Ms. Steele, if you please call the roll.
Mr. Gibson? Here. Dr. Orth? Mr. Hutson?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Chriscoe?
Here.
Mr. Bazzani?
Here.
Mr. Nicosia?
Here.
All present.
Thank you, Ms. Steele. Tonight, we'll have our invocation, our invocation by Dr. Katrina Brown, Bethel Baptist Church, and our Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Sammy Heaney and Lowen Ekenlaw. Got it.
Good evening to you all. This evening, I share with you the writings of Apostle Paul. In one of his letters written to his son in the ministry, he commended Timothy about the power of prayer. Paul's advice, which appears in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, was that petitions, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. He continued that this is good and pleases God our Savior. And this was remarkable advice, because at the time, Nero was in authority, and he was a notoriously cruel and unforgiving ruler. Also, Paul was in prison, and the government operated through lies, persecution, injustice, and oppression. And although God is all-powerful and all-knowing, God has chosen you, God has chosen me, God has chosen all of us to help him change the world through our prayers. Paul urged us to pray for everyone because our earnest prayers will have powerful results. And so I ask that you join me in repeating the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you so much, Sammy, and thank you, Elwin, for coming tonight. They're from Bodytot Elementary School. Okay. Moving on, we'll have the approval of the minutes for March the 24th meeting. So moved. All in favor? Aye. We'll have the adoption of the agenda. Second. All in favor? Aye. No consent agenda tonight. We'll have matters presented by the board. Yes, sir. Dr. Orth.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Two things. Several months ago, Mr. Chriscoe and I had the pleasure of doing kind of a review of the high school. We went up there and got a great tour, and we were told that things were on place to be finished this summer. There were some issues that were budgetary, and I was wondering if Mr. Hartley could provide us with the latest update. They were saying they may finish this summer. And I know there were some questions about some finances for the floor, whether we had the extra money for it or not. So,
in my last conversations with Mr. Hartley, the floor issue is not an issue. They're going to get that taken care of. And as far as their timeline, and this has been the last couple of weeks that I spoke with Mr. Hartley, they fully expect to be finished before kids start back late August.
Yeah. It might be good just to get an update, and also, I know Mr. Bazzani had been asking repeatedly about budgetary issues, where we are with the overall budget and whether there'll be any money left over or whatever. It might be nice to have that for the public to hear what's going on, since it is part of that 1% sales tax that was approved by the citizens a few years ago.
I'll be glad to get that. They will be making that presentation a week from tonight, and then I will forward the copy to you all.
Okay, and the second thing, Mr. Chair, a week ago, I had the honor of attending that information series or information program that Ms. Steele put on for the data center up in Glens. I was really impressed by the professionalism of the presentation that Ms. Steele gave, and the comments were very appreciative of, number one, the information, and number two, the fact that they had it at Glens. They really like that. I have a lot of thoughts. I don't know whether we want to talk about it during discussion session. I don't want to, make matters worse here, but I've been thinking about it a lot because of what questions the citizens had regarding not just the data center, but how that whole conversation devolved into the solar farm issues. Whether the board wants to talk about it or not, I know Mr. Bazzani doesn't want to spend any more time, but I thought 200 plus people, it was impressive, very impressive to have many people. And I stated at the very end, the questions were great, the answers were appropriate, and it was a very civil meeting. It's unfortunate, as they said, there were so many people we had to use 2 extra classrooms, and maybe next time we can have it where there's more room.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I'll
Mr.
piggyback
Bazzani.
on the comment. We could have a discussion up here for the citizens in this end of the county, maybe at TC Walker, and maybe have the same presentation there so those folks can actually weigh in on it as well. And then we can discuss it, so that the whole county is fully aware of what.
Yeah. I was very impressed by the enthusiasm and by the types of questions the citizen asked, not just about the data center, but some of the other things that have happened up there, which has to do with, of course, the landfill and this big solar farm. And so I felt very strongly about how these people felt about what was in their backyard. And they really spoke from the heart about what they felt about their part of the county. And so I think it was a good time for us to listen to them. And so yeah, it was a very good meeting. I think we went to almost 9:30.
Mr. Chair, if I can,
Yes.
just a reminder that the Planning Commission will be meeting on Thursday, so 2 nights from now, and they have it on their agenda to have a recap, and they also will have the latest information on the survey that is available. The video from that night, as well as the presentation, are posted on our website, and people can still take the survey. So I think from a board perspective, it might be better to keep on letting the Planning Commission, since y'all asked them to consider this matter, to let them kind of guide the next step. I do think there were other issues that are pertinent for the board to discuss regarding the solar site, and we already have scheduled to have a program about the landfill, so we can maybe handle that. But I think at another time it would be good to have discussion. I really felt like I learned a lot that night from the people, and it was. I understand some people were complaining about the location. The people in the northern part of the county are constantly asked to drive, and this was only going to, as far as impact physically, it only was going to impact the northern end of the county. So there's definitely the opportunity to do additional educational programs, but I think taking it first and foremost to those people was very well received by them, that I don't, that it was in their home court.
I can certainly wait.
Okay. Well, Dr. Orth, what was that?
You can wait.
You can wait? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Orth. Okay. Any more any more matters presented by the board? Okay, move on to county administrator's items.
Okay, just a couple of things. First of all, I want to remind the public that we have the carnival coming to the Old Page site, and that will be June 13th through the 15th and the 19th to the 22nd. And people can go to the county website to get more information, but if they buy the wristbands in advance, they're $5 cheaper, and that's all you can ride for $20. And I wanted to let the board know, first of all, I did not send a weekly report last week, and I was out of town the last couple of days, so rather than kind of create one, I thought I'd just combine everything into this week. But I also wanted to let the board know, we had originally planned on having the Bolton compensation study results tonight, and we just received the information. We're going over it. We have a meeting with them next week, and so it's going to be pushed back to the July. We don't know anything quite at this point. And also, I was trying to read my own writing. I think most of you have heard that Mr. Baines has been contemplating his retirement and ending his career, and I wanted to let you know that we had a discussion about that today, and that moment is getting closer and closer. So he's making some decisions, and we are going to be very sorry to see him leave, and we'll have much more to talk about that in the near future. But I just wanted to give you all a heads up. Yes, sir.
With regard to the compensation report, would we get a copy ahead of the meeting so that we could look at it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Steele, I'm sorry. I need to go back to the matters presented by the board. It was one thing I meant to bring up tonight. I've had several phone calls, but I've noticed today that they are cutting the grass finally. But I've had several phone calls wanting to know, well, how often do they cut this grass? And
Twice a year past Wawa.
twice a year,
Past Wawa.
past Wawa, 3 times a year. So, because this one person was very upset. They drove through York County and said it was beautiful, and they crossed the bridge and it looked horrible. And they wait till it get to dangerous level for a lot of people to pull out of different places. You can't pull out in the intersections you're scared because of the grass.
York County pays for their own road.
Right. York County maintains their own medians. And we get the 3 and the 2. And the 3 happens pretty much monthly, June, July, and August, right around the first of the week, or first of the month. And then the other.
So we get them 3 times in a row, June, July?
Yeah, we typically get one the first part of June, first part of July, first half of August, and that's usually the last one.
When you see the gazelles and the giraffes running around, that's when it's time to do it.
I'll wait for the tigers.
Lions and tigers and bears.
Ms. Steele, 2 things. I guess one, most important for the county, we don't have to accept the retirement. But more importantly, I noticed the same company that's operating the fair in Virginia Beach, it was shut down at Mount Trashmore. Are we taking precautions to make sure everything's okay over here?
They were shut down because the local law enforcement department could not provide enough staff, and we are not in that situation. And
Okay.
that's been reassured. So it wasn't anything that the carnival company did wrong, it's just they required more personnel than they had available.
Is it free for attendees to go in, other than the rides?
Right.
You can go in, but you have to pay for the rides.
Yes.
Pay for them to ride, Philip. Don't be so cheap.
They don't ride roller coasters.
There'll be something they can ride, pay for them.
Or horsey or something.
Help the economy.
Okay, moving on, the scheduled presentations. First, we'll have our wireless broadband update by Mr. Greg Reed, Area Supervisor, Open Broadband.
Good evening. Since our last update, we've signed up some more people. I won't say that we've got a huge number of people, as we know, but our total in Gloucester is now 25 residents that have signed up. 6 of those are from the old VADI program. And as one of the bullet points mentioned, we are offering other means other than the fixed wireless devices. So we're also doing a cellular router as well as we install Starlink. And so 3 of those 25 here in Gloucester are on the cellular routers. And they're in some of the harder reach locations where we didn't have coverage in any other way. Up in Glens, on the way to King and Queen, at Lee's Neck Farm, all the way down at the end, which I was very happy to see. We did have coverage back in there. And then some additional area of Ware Neck as well. And then I know this is a Gloucester meeting, but Matthews is holding steady at about 35 residents that have our services. We're also hooking up some outbuildings for people where they want to have, say, their exterior garages or detached shops. So we've done that in some locations. We've joined the Chamber of Commerce to try and get some business-to-business opportunities. And we do have our services in the new business here in the county that Kay Van Dyke is doing. We provided her with the first year of wireless or internet with wireless coverage in the building at no charge to her. So we help her get up off the ground on that business. And I think we're still working with you guys to get the VADI information all done for the state, some of the dollar figures and receipts and things like that for procurement. And that sort of gives us the update. I mean, it's been, since October, we haven't had a lot of growth, I have to say. We've been throughout the northern part of the county with flyers and down through Guinea with flyers, and just have not had people that are responsive to our services. And I'm not sure what the answer is, but I guess I'm available for questions.
So, Mr. Reed, where are we with the towers?
When you say towers,
You know,
there were a couple of
the ones that, we had some that need to be put up still.
Well, the county elected to look at getting refunds on those, to not erect those. And I'm not sure where we are with that. I know there was an issue with the tower manufacturer, and I would have to bring that back to the CEO, to Alan, and see where the status is, unless the administrator knew.
So I can tell you the last conversation that I had with Alan, the CEO, the president, was to take a wait, because we were still trying to see if they get enough connectivity. It could be that the towers could be used either at the original locations or at additional locations. There's obviously would have to go through another Board of Zoning Appeals to put them up. But before getting a refund, because we do not feel that we're going to get the full amount with the time that's gone by, and it was a sort of a purchase that they made, but we're asking to get the funds back. So we said, before we take less, let's make sure that the service that we can't use them. And the way that the service connections have gone, I just don't think we've had anybody that we can like hop, kind of like that hopping thing. That's what we were hoping would happen at Achilles. I don't know, I think we're getting to the point where, since we haven't had additional customers, that we probably need to go ahead and cut bait. And I would say, just adding the other comment, that everybody's waiting to hear is about the BEAD program. The last that we heard is that it sounded like Gloucester was going to be a recipient of a fiber grant, and one of the companies that wanted a fiber product that they were going to be awarded, and it was supposed to be a June announcement, but you probably understand and have read it's back and forth with the federal government over whether the money is going to be released or not. So Virginia is sitting ready. They've already received all their applications, made their decisions, but no announcements. And so until that announcement's made, we won't know exactly how many houses they'll be covering. It will not be all 100%, but it would be from that list of non-served.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your coming up to talk tonight. You've installed other broadband systems through VADI in other localities, right?
Not through VADI. No.
Not through VADI.
No,
Okay,
we
so
only
no-
have
Body's a
body
Virginia
grants.
grant. They're in
Yeah.
North Carolina
They're
and
in North
Georgia.
Carolina,
and-
so then maybe
And
I'll
one
ask.
other area of Virginia, but
I
it
got
was
you.
not under a grant.
So how successful has the bodies program been in Virginia? I mean, are we seeing the same kind of, well, it's here, but I don't want to pay for it attitude, where, you know, millions of dollars are being wasted on this program that's not working?
I think it's spotty. I think it's in some places
It's a waste of
it's
taxpayer dollars then, right?
potentially.
I think subscription rates have been down a lot of places. I mean, the magazines and the journal articles I get, it's a problem everywhere because they're all using self-service. And so as younger people don't use the computers the same way, they've got this, they're carrying their service with them. And it's kind of like a lot of people got rid of their home phones because they have a cell phone. So the drive to pay several $100s a month for fiber or a cable company, or not as high, it's only 50 or so for the company, but they're already paying that for the phone. So until they get to the point where they're not having the services they need, I think the demand is lower.
So it's almost as successful as the former president's charging station for $6 billion and only put 6 to 7 charging stations up, right? Is that how successful this has been?
I think it's pretty complicated thing. You know, the pandemic and broadband is a very big topic. But I do know that we're not the only ones who have lower
We
rates.
should always be, all be outraged at
And-
waste of taxpayer dollars like that.
And you've probably seen the same solicitations, those of you who do have, Cox has gone into the cell phone business, the same thing, the same reason, right? Because they're trying to expand their business because people are not subscribing to the cable. Our cable numbers continue to go down.
Yes, sir, Mr. Hutson.
Ms. Steele, what kind of percentage are they offering us for the return on that money?
I think it was going to be around 50%, but we haven't argued, we haven't negotiated, we haven't brought in our attorney yet and done anything like that. So we'll try to do the best we can. You know, they were made and we didn't take them, basically, and they sold them to somebody else. So they will make them again for us, or we can take cash, but it costs more. So I think it's more of a situation that we'll deal with the county attorney to get the best deal we can.
So the one that we had built for us, they sold to somebody else?
Three, yes, because we didn't pick it up for so long. It wasn't needed.
And that was paid by, I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Oh, but we're not going to get the full amount back, or even closer?
We'll
I
have
mean,
to
there's
see
not
how
even
far
a
we can
restocking
get.
fee because it wasn't delivered.
And that's paid through body, those antennas? They were, and so you think the state will want to say, we want our money now, you took it back, we want that
Because we
money
have
back?
our match, so we had our part.
But it's not out of the realm of possibility, though, they can come back.
No, we're fine with the state. We've settled out, we've closed. The only thing we're having to do now is just some additional monitoring. So we have to
I'm
keep
not
it.
quite understanding though, Ms. Steele. If they bought them, they paid money for them. Why come we're not getting that money? They were ours. Why aren't we getting it? That was our money.
Well,
They were our towers.
rather than say anything that, just because I don't have my notes in front of me, rather than say anything that might be incorrect, I would say, let me if we can put this back on the agenda for next month, and I will have a more full answer for
Please,
you.
thank you.
An email might just be better.
Just so
Okay.
we know.
Well, that's true. I mean, but,
I'd like to know.
yeah.
The towers were originally contracted through Open Broadband with a secondary contractor. And since we were so far behind on the project, the contractor that had created the order for the antennas, the towers, and they were sitting down in a yard, he was being charged rent to stay there. So knowing that we were behind, he used those towers on a secondary job, on another job, knowing that he could put ours back in the schedule and avoid paying rent in the yard that they were storing them in. So our towers were not really sold to somebody else. They were used on a different job, and then ours were put back into a schedule that has not been performed yet.
Okay, Thank you.
So technically ours haven't been built.
They haven't been,
Ours
Yeah.
has not been built,
okay,
technically.
all right, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Reed? Okay, thank you, Mr. Reed.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, third quarter financial report for FY '25, update unaudited, Maria Callaway, Chief Financial Officer.
Good evening. We waiting on? It would have been a really quick presentation.
Quick,
All right, this evening I'm going to go over the third quarter fiscal year 2025 financial update. As I discuss each time, this is unaudited. It's my best estimation of where we're going to end this fiscal year in some cases, or exactly where we are as of three quarters of the way through the year. The full set of financial statements is on page 10 of the board packet. That's at the full set. It's lots of numbers in there, so this presentation that's in front of you is a little bit more up to date, has some more recent information in it as well. So I'm going to go over a detailed review of the revenue and expenditures and fund balance for general fund, and then I'll also do a quick overview for some of the other larger funds. Starting with the general fund revenue, to date we've received $48.1 million of our $83.2 million budget for general fund revenue. That's about 58% of our revenue. So this chart shows the green bars that is the total 100% of the budgets, and you can see the portion that's filled where we are for the fiscal year. That red line represents 75% or 3/4 of the year. But as we talk about during these presentations, the county does not receive revenue in even monthly installments. So we know that 50% of our general property taxes comes in June. So we're waiting for that number now. And then we also have other local taxes that includes things like sales tax that comes in 1 to 2 months in arrears, and other types of taxes that come in behind. So we aren't expecting at this point in the year to be meeting that 75% for all of these revenue sources. So how do we know what this means? We compare it to previous years. So this chart is a little bit new. Well, it is new. This is the first time I've shown this chart. I took those same revenue categories, and those green bars represent the current year, the percent of revenue received. The blue bars are last year, so where we were at the same point in fiscal year 24 for these revenue sources. Those ones that are circled in green, state revenue, federal revenue, and general property taxes, you can see those bars pretty much align with where we were last year. So we're in good shape there. The ones that have that red box around them, charges for services, other local taxes, and permits and licenses, those are all lagging, as you can see. You can see that blue bar, and each of those circumstances exceeds where we are right now for fiscal year 25. And so each of those revenue sources are really economically driven, and this feeds right into what we were seeing and discussing during the fiscal year 26 budget process, that we've been increasing those budgets on things like sales tax and meals tax to really try to meet what our revenues were, and we've kind of leveled those out, or in some cases we're seeing that we're not meeting those budgets. So sales tax, I think, is the best indicator of where the spending happening. What is our local economy? That's the best that I can see on a monthly basis, and I track it very closely, which is one of the reasons I held on to this presentation, because we didn't get the March sales tax numbers till last week. So in this slide, you can see the red line is current year. So it's fiscal year 25 to date, and it's pretty much tracking right there with last year. There's no growth there. And then in February, that red line dipped below 24 and 23's numbers. So I had a little bit of a, that was a moment for me, and which is why I wanted to wait for the next month to come in to see, is this something happening, or is this an outlier? And I also spoke with some other finance directors that I'm connected with locally, and we attributed this to weather. They all saw the same thing. February, I actually looked at it, we had 15 days below freezing, and we had, I think, 2 snowstorms, businesses were closed, and we saw it in our numbers. And then March, I circled in green, that bumped right back up, but it's not shooting over prior year numbers. So I think that our predictions that sales tax is leveled off now are pretty clear. So a property tax update. The books were published in the last week and a half, I believe. And so I don't have quite all of the information to really hash out where are we going to be with this new book. But I'm working on that. As soon as I get all that information, you'll certainly have that in the next update. So I did my best estimation based on the numbers that I had all the way through last week. And I believe we'll be seeing about 1.1 million over budgeted amounts for property taxes, which is incorporating a portion of those tax increases that were adopted with our 26 budget. So shifting to the expense side, this is something that generally we can see in monthly segments. So 75% through the year, we should be looking at about 75% spending, and we're at 71% right now. So incorporated into these different functions, which are just our big groups of spending, we have vacancy savings, which is simply the difference between what we budget for personnel and what we actually spent for personnel or have spent. And so the way we budget our personnel is at full capacity. And then we say, we estimate we're gonna save X number of dollars from people moving positions and then vacancy and turnover. That savings budget was $505,000 this year, and I'm estimating we're gonna have about $340,000 more in savings than that budget. And then for transfers, the transfers are the general fund money that is going to other funds such as Children's Services Act, Social Services, goes towards debt service. We budgeted that savings at $300,000, and I believe we'll be seeing about $577,000 more in savings. Most of that is Children's Services and Social Services, which is they have to budget for what they have at the moment and those scenarios, and sometimes those things change. And so we are happy that we see savings and not the other way when those things change. So in total, I'm estimating we'll see about $900,000 more in savings than what we budgeted from vacancies and transfers. This is not anything new. I'm sure you would have wished that I would have taken all those different projections and plugged them into a new fund balance number, but we're just not there yet at this point in the fiscal year. So this is just a snapshot of exactly where fund balance was left at the end of the fiscal year 26 budget process. The capital fund, so just a reminder of some of the projects and what's been happening in capital fund this year. We completed some things like the sheriff got new tough books, the animal control dog runs, which were funded with donations, some paving projects. And then we, just today, some of our purchasing staff were excited to follow the new generator into the parking lot this morning. So they procured it, and it was really exciting to see that come in the parking lot. So that generator replacement is happening now. And then we have a couple of projects that were carried over during the budget process to fiscal year 26. And I don't ever get to put pictures in my presentation. So I swiped some. Mr. Baines and Ms. Legg helped me out with these. So we have the building for renovation, which houses utilities, or will. And you can see that far right picture. There was definitely some mold and mildew issues in that building, amongst other things. So the middle picture and the far left are kind of in progress and nearing completion there. And then we have the Woodville Park, which is awesome to see the new ADA sidewalk to the playground there. Shifting to the utilities fund, the charts on the right-hand side I track the billings by month for the utilities fund. I look at each month and see where, how much they are for that time and where are we tracking. And so that red line is 25, and you can see that we were pretty much right in line with prior years, and then we had that bump in April. So April billings, Ms. Legg and I did a lot of work on this. April billings are billed in the beginning of May, and so that's why you see that big bump, because that incorporates the new rate increases that went into effect. So you can see in both cases that the water and sewer had an increase in in April for those, and that also incorporates factors like the AMI meters. Those meters are getting replaced, and the AMI program is going into place. And it takes a little bit of time to really onboard that full process, but as those broken meters are getting replaced, we're seeing some of that efficiency coming in. And then you can see at the bottom, that third quarter update, we were 73% received as of 3/4 of the year, so we were a little behind, and I am thinking, based on what I see, I believe we'll be meeting or possibly slightly exceeding revenues for 2025, which will positively impact fund balance. The school sales tax fund is tracking very similarly to our local sales tax, which I showed you earlier. So you can see that that red line for 25 that dipped way down in February, came back up in March. And the school sales tax fund is doing well. The budget for the actual tax deposits, very similar to the general fund sales tax, that's coming in a little under budget, but that tax has its own account and is earning interest on a large sum. So those interest earnings are contributing, and fund balance is continuing to grow. An ARPA update. I haven't given one of these in a while. I've submitted the 5th annual ARPA report on April 30th. So if we can believe we've done this for 5 years now. All funds were obligated by December 31st, which was a huge, huge push for Ms. Legg in utilities, and also my staff in purchasing, who worked really hard to get all those contracts in place. We have just under $900,000 remaining, and that's for 5 utilities projects that are underway right now. And also at the bottom, I mentioned the Local and Tribal Assistance Fund. This was an offshoot of ARPA. We got $100,000. We have less now than $21,000, which is for sheriff bonuses going towards recruitment efforts for the sheriff's office. Couple more pictures. One of the things that was purchased with utilities ARPA money, that slope mower, and then some new shiny stuff in the ground at the Point Water Tower water age management system. I'll keep technical on the numbers. So what's next? We're currently providing that third quarter update. We'll have our external independent auditors on site next week. They do a handful of testing on individual invoices and different things that they can do ahead of the game. So they'll be here next week, and then I'll be back in September to give you those numbers for unaudited figures for 25 as a whole, and then we'll have our final field work in September to wrap up the year. So in conclusion, I believe that expenditures are overall aligning with what we budgeted. I've explained some of the savings I believe we're going to have, and we do see some of those revenue shortfalls that I believe are going to be offset by some overages in other revenue categories. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions, Ms. Callaway? Yes.
Ms. Callaway, back on page 4 of this with the red box, can we get the dollar amounts for the charge for services, other local tax, permits and license? Just.
Do you want them in the pack? Do you want to know which page they're on in the
yes,
packet? Would that help?
Yes, because looking at that a couple days ago and then looking at the presentation today.
Yep.
Just so I can see.
So they are detailed starting on page 24 of the packet.
Okay.
Let's see, sorry, 25. So permits, privilege fees, regulatory licenses, and then fines and forfeitures. Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any others?
Any other questions for Ms. Galloway?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Galloway. Okay, moving on. Public comment. Public comment. Anyone would like to come before the board for public comment? Mr. Mallory, come on down.
He's beeping the horn.
Come on down.
So you're not pointing your guns at us behind closed.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members
Good
of the
evening,
board,
sir.
Ms. Steele, Mr. Wilmot, Howard Mallory, York. The tax bills are out. I have already received calls where the individual has been overvalued in their vehicle. You have to research Blue Book or a dealer to get true value. It's your money. Why give it away? For what purpose? A decade or more ago, the boat tax was eliminated. A $2 million yacht can sit here and pay nothing in taxes. It was established that the county would receive a considerable amount of revenue from these owners using local services. Well, here it is a decade or more, and the Commissioner of Revenue has not provided one report since the tax was removed. Why should the privileged not be taxed and all the owners of recreational vehicles, trailers, etc., be taxed? This discrimination of products needs to be corrected. All pay their fair share and have no tax at all. We now await your decision. It's election year time. For change, maybe now. The meeting at RCC was interesting. Reviewing the overlay of the proposed technology district, there needs to be a drastic cut in its size. Reviewing the power line course and the distance of available usage from the land line, all land east of Route 17 needs to be eliminated. Also, thoughtful consideration needs to be given to the construction of a nuclear micro-generation plant to operate this proposed industrial plant. The first box has been checked, and about 4 more are required before you approve this construction. We wait and see for the outcome. With the toll coming off the bridge, what type of control will you put in place to curtail the massive run of people trying to flee areas across the bridge? And what will be the cost be to the county to support this invasion? With the budget now in place, you can fix the public utility situation, revisit your CIP, and move funding to utilities for the hiring of personnel and procuring equipment they need to proceed with their asset management system, which, if known, does not exist. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Mallory. Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing none. We will move on to our regular agenda. Discussion of application and development fees and requests for public hearing. Mr. Legg, Director of Public Utilities.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So tonight I would like to start the discussion with possible decision moving forward with regards to application and development fees for utilities. So I will preface this by saying, as usual, I throw a lot of information at you, and I try to condense it as best as possible, but please ask questions throughout. You should have a copy of this presentation in front of you as well. So tonight, real quick, I'm going to touch on the revenue trends with application and development fees, just so you can see the ebb and flow of how that has gone over the past years. What recent connection history looks like, what our current fees look like, some potential options just to start the discussion, as well as looking at some other fees that are in the ordinance. And then I will be looking to you for next steps and direction. So this is the 25-year sewer and water connection revenue history. Just so that you can see the spikes and the valleys. You can see there in 2007, 2008 was that housing boom. You've seen a couple of smaller spikes since then, with the most recent one, the COVID building boom. The blue is water. This is application and development combined, and orange is sewer. Same graph, only in a 10-year look back, just because 25 years may not be relevant. And then what I've done for you is broken it down between sewer and water. So the application fees for sewer over 10 years, this is the revenue, and the development fees for sewer as well. You can see that 2024 and 25 are the lowest that it has ever been. Same concept here with water. Again, this was really just so that you could see how revenue has tracked historically. I will not be touching a lot on revenue specifically, but I will talk a little bit about what the impact could be depending on some of these various options that I will show you. Some recent connection information. So from 2021 until right now, these are the new connections that our department has processed. And we assess application and development fees based on meter size. 3/4 is standard for residential. Some smaller businesses use them as well. About 94% of our accounts are that meter size. Everything larger than that is going to be business-based. Obviously, your higher consumption businesses are going to have bigger meters. So I only went back to do these 4 years because everything else is in paper. And so we would have had to go through binders that are currently in storage. So to use my time wisely, I chose the electronic records only. Let's see. So current fees, I'll go through these somewhat quickly unless you feel the need to dissect them. Again, it is a lot of information and a lot of spreadsheet-looking tables. Because our ordinance breaks down everything by sewer versus water, and then also again by meter size. So these are our current connection fees for sewer. So you have a property you want to hook up to sewer. Based on your meter size, you will pay an application fee and a development fee for a total. We currently in our system only go up to 4-inch meters, but we have a pricing structure that goes up to 8-inch. And so then this slide will show you what we look like compared to other localities. So this is a color-coded graph. You will see I will use these same localities going forward. And green means the lowest, and then moves through yellow, orange, red means the highest. These particular localities were chosen because they have the most comparable fee structure. There are other more complicated ones, City of Portsmouth, Newport News Waterworks, that all depend on formulas that I cannot compare. Yes?
Yes, sir, Mr. Bazzani.
So Katie, going back to the previous slide, this connection fees, and you see the application versus development fees. What are we getting out of it? What is the applicant getting out of it? Let's say, let's just take the 2-inch, $14,000 application fee for a $9,000 development fee. what are they getting for 14? What are they doing? What are we doing for $14,000?
They are being able to hook into our system. So by code, the application fee is supposed to cover the maintenance of the capital costs by having this extra connection into our system.
So it's not a review process or anything like
No.
that? Okay, got it, I'm done.
No,
Thank you.
and then development, of course, goes into the development
Got
fund.
it.
So again, back to this, strictly sewer connection fees. You can see Gloucester is pretty green here. Not the absolute lowest for the 3/4 inch meters, but pretty close. It looks to be about the middle. Again, there are other localities that just, they use crazy formulas, sometimes by frontage foot, and other things, and it just did not compare very well. So York County was easier to do because they had separate sewer connection information, and then they'll use Newport News Waterworks for the water side. The water side was easier to compare than the sewer side. So these are our current water connection fees. Again, the same thing, it's by meter size. There's an application fee, there is a development fee, and that is in total. So of course, we do have some folks that come to us and they only do a water connection fee because we don't run sewer to that section. However, oh, I forgot this slide. So same concept, looking at those same other localities and how Gloucester relates to those as well. Again, you can see Gloucester is pretty green, being some of the lowest connection fees around. So what I did is I took all of those and said, okay, this is what the total connection fee is going to be for water and sewer for these localities. And I only looked at the 3/4 inch and the 1 inch meters. That's about 97% of our connections. So again, like when we were looking at monthly rates, I wanted to look at the things that were going to impact the most amount of people. So as it stands right now, you can see these are ranked again in order, green being the lowest, red being the highest. York County for our standard, for ease, say residential meter, is the lowest, and then Gloucester and Isle of Wight are next. So I will use these two meter sizes going forward when we start looking at options for how to raise the fee. So when I started looking at this, this was a little bit more difficult to do than monthly rates. Monthly rates I understand. We charge by consumption. It's a pretty easy formula to understand. There does not seem to be a rhyme or reason to how these application and development fee numbers came to be. I know that they are the same since 2011. That's as far back as I went. So I just started playing with some of the numbers and say, let's see if we do X, what does that look like, and how does that relate to other localities? And I figure that is a good place for us to have that discussion, and if you all would like to see something else, I'm happy to run the numbers. So option one is to increase the application fees by 20% and double the development fees. So I don't need to go through these individually because I will, again, show you what that looks like for the 3/4 versus 1 inch across localities. So same thing with water, increase the application fees by 20%, development fees double. So this is what that would look like with surrounding localities. You can see Gloucester is no longer in the green for our 3/4 inch meter. They are now second highest. Revenue impact. So looking at the FY26 budget and what has just been approved and what additional revenue we could see off a rate change or a fee change like that. Could potentially see an additional $76,000 based on what the FY26 budget is. Option two, this is substantially more aggressive. This is a 50% increase in application fees and triples the development fee. Again, same thing, I used it standard across both sewer and water. So what that looks like across localities. Again, Gloucester still becomes the second highest, and now its 1-inch connection has become third highest, whereas in the first option, it was still one of the lower ones. This is an increase in the 3/4-inch connection of $6,800. So the potential impact to revenue, about $130,000. Again, based off the FY26 approved budget. Numbers could change. Third option, a 50% increase to both application and development. It doesn't change where we fall compared against localities. It does make that total dollar figure just a little bit smaller. It does put us more into the green for that 1-inch connection. And then revenue impact, about $56,000 additional. So those are the only 3 options that I started with. Again, I wanted to make sure that you all understood there was no real rhyme or reason to these fees. It was more, let's see where we compare to others and what you all are willing to withstand.
What do you recommend?
Quadruple.
No, or I would have put that in here. This one, it's a tough one, and my long-term goal here is that the application fees actually go to start supporting the capital needs of utilities, whereas right now, application fees are helping to support operating. So increasing those application fees is going to be really important to do that.
So option 2 would be what you might pick?
A 50% increase in application fees would be fantastic. I don't know that I would necessarily triple the development fees. Again, the development fund fees go to support the development fund, which is to expand the system. So while I think that is necessary, the expansion of it, when we still need to take care of a lot of things, I would much rather focus on maintenance and repairs versus suddenly trying to expand. But allowing that fund to grow, both development and application fees will help us with our borrowing in later years. So that was a non-answer.
You understand better than we do because we're just looking at this for the first time since what, Thursday that we got this package?
Well, this you got today.
Okay, so we got this tonight. So you are closer to this than we are. We're just on the outside looking in. So what do you recommend? What do you advise for us?
Sure.
I mean, you have to make that decision. What do you advise for us to look
Well,
at?
you all will.
I know, but what do you advise?
Well, so Mr. Bazzani, this is a bigger picture question than these rates here. Some of the comments we've heard about the toll coming off the bridge and other things, these development fees and these application fees could help control some of your growth. So there's bigger pictures that y'all have to look at besides what we look at as the operations of the water and sewer system. And that's one of the things this could do for you. If you're looking at it and you go to planning and say, as we move these fees up, what does that do to our growth or the potential of growth? So this is something besides just the funding. Katie's done a very good job this year and every year to come back to you to tell you what the true revenue is and what we have to do to continue to make us grow. This is, of these 3, I think we'd have to go back and look again. Like she said, maybe it's 50 and 2 instead of 50 and 3. We can come back with more options, but all these, when you see it's around $100,000, that doesn't do much more than
But-
get us an employee.
But you guys have a closer view of
Yeah.
what we need in terms of utilities, right? So there has to be one option that you guys favor over the other.
So honestly, something that I had considered that's not even in here would be to double the application fee and leave the development fee as it is. Again, with the goal of hoping to bolster that application revenue to support capital projects,
Will that help you in improving our utility system?
assuming the revenue is realized. That is a big problem that we had this fiscal year and last fiscal year, in that we budgeted these revenues that just did not occur. The biggest impact, or I don't even want to say the biggest impact, but that 3/4 inch meter is going to be the one, those are the homes that are being built. So that's going to have some pushback from developments that are currently in progress, ones that may be coming down the line. But again, those are also a majority of our users.
So one more question. So under the development fees, with the new potential 1,100 homes going back here, what's that called, Barons now?
Or the villages again.
It's the villages now. We're going to bring that controversy back up
It is.
again. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. I lost my train of thought. I'll come back to it.
Development.
Yeah, development. So, with 1,100 homes going in back there and the fees associated with that, would that potentially provide you some revenues to further improve the utility system, to save it from disaster, or I hate to say that phrase, but to save it from, or to keep it continuing to work efficiently and providing water and sewer to our residents?
Yes, so the application fees, yes. The development fees go into the restricted development fund, because those can only be used, as of right now, directed by you all for expansion of the system.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, Ms. Lay, with regard to the development fund, Mr. Wilmot provided us with some information regarding the use of development fund, and there was a question from one of my constituents that the use of development fund was restricted by state law. Mr. Wilmot basically said that wasn't quite correct. Correct, Mr. Wilmot?
Yes.
Maybe you could explain it a little better than I can, just for the people here and those watching, about the use of development fee and what the state law really does say.
Well, my research indicated that we constrain ourselves, meaning the Board of Supervisors has determined to charge the development fee and to utilize those funds for expansion of the system. I could not find any constriction imposed by state law on us. Now, is it possible that one exists and I missed it? It's possible, theoretically. So that's why I invited you to ask your constituent what made him opine that I was wrong and he was right. That would be...
I haven't asked him yet.
that would be unusual, but it's possible.
I will find out.
So it's a supply and demand issue, right? So if you have a high demand for development in this county as a result of the Coleman Bridge tolls coming off, development fee are paid by the developers, right? Am I right on that?
Correct. Those
So-
application and development fees.
Passed to the person
It
who
is.
buys property.
It is going to be passed on because your construction cost has gone up.
Okay. But the developer will have to absorb some of that cost and share some of it with the homeowner. I don't know how that structure works, but
It'll go to the end user.
To the end user.
The homeowner, when they purchase that property, they're going to be reimbursing that developer for their
Every
development.
penny.
You better believe it.
Okay.
And probably 25% on top of that.
then I retract my question.
Because I never built a house when my father was alive that he didn't, it was a rare occasion he didn't make 20 to 25%.
So, Ms. Legg, I think these are all good numbers for us to consider. Again, we've been burnt before by the proposal that we had on line 4, the reserve, which never came true, which is now the villages, we don't know what's going to happen.
Correct.
With the toll coming off and comments being made that we'll see lots of people coming. We just don't know. And with a number of developments that are currently being reviewed by Planning Commission, one of which is behind, or next, was it the one that Kubicki, Mr. Kubicki is proposing, you know, that and the reserve or villages is what, almost 2,000 units.
Yes.
How many units get built each year would dictate what amount of money goes into the application. We just don't know what's going to happen with that. And I know some of the units are, condominiums and apartments and all that. So I think we have to be very careful with regard to how we look at the development fund itself and the application fee and what that means to your budget, because it may not be as expected. We just don't know. And you don't want to get into that trap that we got into 2 years ago, which your budget really hurt because of the fact that nothing got built.
Right, and that's why we were very, very conservative with our FY26 revenue projections for those things, because, you know, again, as part of when I came to you about the rate changes and borrowing, 10-year trend, we saw a 23% change in application and development. I didn't feel that was sustainable right now, so we've built in a 10% growth each year, and that's what that number is right now.
So what are the next steps for us as a board? You've obviously presented us with a lot of information about increasing both the application fee and development fund. So what are the steps that we should take regarding this? What are you proposing in terms of a timeline that you would like us to act?
Well, I don't have any particular timeline. The plan was you have a resolution if you so choose to advertise a public hearing if you came to an agreement on any type of fee change. And that would be set for July 15th because you don't have a meeting until then.
Mr. Hutson.
I think this is more of a philosophical issue we need to deal with than looking at either 1, 2, 3 or anything else, either of the options. We need to figure out if we want to use the development fees to slow down growth with proposed toll coming off, where we want to actually, what we want to look at. If we want to help the utilities department, it might be better to keep them right where they are so more people get on and we have more usage fees. We need to figure out what exactly we want and figure out how we're going to do it before we determine what the rates are going to be.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If I can. I think for the developments that are, at least the villages, that's, you know, invested a lot of money and they're planning on coming, if the board was looking at trying to make things more level, grounded, and for what costs actually are, the fact that this fee has not been raised in years, but yet the expense of the equipment that's used, the expense, the people that are being paid, all of those things have gone up. So I think having a higher application fee is reasonable for the ones that are coming, and for those that are may still being considered. When you look at $350,000 to $550,000 home, I don't think that's going to necessarily keep somebody from coming, but I think it might help offset what our true expenses are. If Ms. Legg knows the number, she can, you know, say, but I don't think we have a magic number for what's the exact, which we've talked about, what's the exact value does a home need to be to pay for itself according to our taxes and all of our county budget? And what does the exact fee need to be to cover the cost? Like how much per person do we need, or how many customers do we need to get in better shape? That information is partly unknown because we have so much capital, that equipment, that we're still finding in bad shape. So we don't really know how bad, how deep the hole is, literally in some places. So this is making sure that the public understands this is only for new customers. This is not an addition to anything that what the fee has gone up recently. It's not going to make a huge difference, but I think it is a philosophical decision. And if there's a concern about slowing growth, it might at least make people think twice, or they might again be paying more of the share that what should be done. And having a public hearing, you can still adjust the rate. County attorney can correct me if I'm saying anything wrong on this, but I think, you know, if you wanted to lower it from the advertised rate, you could. If you wanted to, you know, so if you wanted to put something out there and see what the public says, I mean, the only ones that really in a way should be coming are people who are developers or people who are thinking about hooking on to the system. And you also still have an opportunity, if there was something where you felt like you needed to do an incentive, that's been done in the past, where the board can waive fees or reduce fees for people who are joining, let them pay over time. There's been things that, you know, many localities have done that kind of.
So I would agree with both of you. It is a philosophical question. You know, if you want to control growth, and I'm glad you said it does not affect citizens right now. This does not affect anyone that owns a home in Gloucester County. It only affects those who buy a home that's being built into the future. If you want to control growth, then charge the highest. If you want to have median growth, then maybe you want to put a lower fee. But it depends on where you want to be.
But that's not true about current homeowners, because if they have to hook up to water, then they're going to have the higher rates.
Mrs. Chriscoe?
So
then I'm confused. How do they pay more?
So
the individuals that are going to purchase a home that is being built in a development, no matter what the rate they're going to pay, more than likely will never know what their application or their development fee was. Most of those people are going to pay for that home, and it's going to be lumped in as part of the contract. They will never ever see it.
How does that affect current homeowners?
It won't. The current homeowners that are on water and sewer they don't even care this is happening.
it would only,
And for me, we have to address this, and me personally, the development fee has to be the one that we increase the most, because I think we need to, if we're not constrained by the state, then we need to look at expansion and improvement of our systems and change it to that, because we need to have, in designated places where water and sewer is, we need to have a dedicated crossing at certain points. We need to put that in. That falls on us, and we need to have the development fees increase. So with that, I'm going to make the motion that we hold a public hearing and we go with option 3. Then we can go with whichever way we want. Is that the highest for those, or?
that's the second.
Okay, so then.
Option 2 is the highest.
However, I have other fees.
Correct.
Before you get to that motion.
Okay, well, that's fine. I will hold that, but I want it to go with the highest of the options so we can discuss it later, because the other issue is, we're worried about development where they're on water and sewer. The other issue is when we have development that's in other places where someone has a large tract of land, they can do 5-acre lots. This is a bargain compared to a well, as well as a septic system, especially if it's got to be an alternative system. This is a steal, because if you go on an alternative system, it's $30,000 to $40,000 today, and that's just for a septic tank and field. I don't know. I have to call some people. I'll do my own research, but I think a well is probably going to be cheaper than most of these options. But yeah, we
8 to 10.
By the way, I'll just add a comment to what Mr. Chriscoe said. One of the things we have talked about in the past was providing water and sewer crossings at strategic places along 17 that could really make a huge difference, in particular at the point. And also at strategic places along 17 that would be able to bring in other people, other groups. So I think, you know, there's reason to raise both of those, but I think, again, where we want to go with it is going to be up to the board. But I really support the fact that we need something to where we can get things across 17. And that's expensive, but it would make a big, big difference where people could bring in, you know, other customers.
So if I understand Mr. Chriscoe correctly, all of these fees are going to be built into a home that someone's going to buy.
Sure.
right? And it's not gonna matter to them, because if they want the house, they like it, they're gonna buy it. Charge the higher fees.
All I'm saying is if you have a house that is currently on, well and septic, if water goes by there and they eventually have to hook up, then they're gonna pay the higher rates. That's what I was saying that it could.
Correct, but
With the new laws, it's,
their rates will still be cheaper than putting in a new well
I know.
or a new septic
But they're
if
gonna
they
have
have
a-
the ability to do that on their lot.
my point is, existing homeowners can and will have to pay the higher rate if they connect.
And they will likely only pay the application fee, not the development fee. Okay, so,
Sorry, I skipped ahead. I'd already.
it's okay. Option two is the higher of all the things. So, I wanted to go ahead and take this opportunity to address some other fees and charges that the department issues at times, and would like to make recommendations. So the discontinuance of sewer service is currently $35. This is if we have to cut it off for violating some part of our code, whether that is non-payment or some other reason. Proposed to go from 35 to 50. The renewal of sewer service after hours and or water service from 75 to 100, 50 to 100. I am not sure why one was or is currently lower than the other. And the reestablishment without authorization. So someone's water has been disconnected and then they go out there and they turn it back on themselves. Proposing 75 to 150. A fee that is not currently in the ordinance is an equipment tampering or destruction fee. So this would address when we have homeowners that damage the lids to our meter boxes, which as we've been installing AMI, the cost of these have gone up. We use our best judgment. Sometimes if it happens once, you know, the lawnmower, the car, whatever, although they are supposed to be traffic rated, but we do have some frequent flyers. And so then charging them a fee to replace these things. The reason I'm proposing these cost increase is because of staff time. A lot of these things occur outside of normal business hours. So we have staff that are on call 24 hours a day. When they get called in, they are paid at a minimum number of hours and typically at an overtime rate because they do still have to work the rest of the week. Plus, of course, vehicle and equipment usage.
One more question.
Yes.
Not more questions, but one more. When we first moved here 40 years ago, we had well water, and then county water came through, and we connected to that. And the county made us plug our well, that we couldn't use our well anymore. Is that still being done today? Where, because they came in, they cut our well and poured concrete down it, so we couldn't use that well. That's not done today?
No, many people have their wells, they're still using, they just can't use it for their house.
Right.
For drinking water,
Yeah, they
use it
disconnected
irrigation.
Right, they disconnected the well from the house and they poured concrete down the hole, cut the pipes off and poured concrete down the hole.
That's what they did now.
They don't do that anymore, okay.
I don't do that.
I had a
Yeah.
question if I
Yes,
can.
Ms. Stewart.
Just a clarification, because I know that there have been a number of times when people have gone on and, as you said, reconnected themselves.
Yes.
So would you anticipate, because that involves tampering, so would you envision that that person, if it was noticeable tampering, whatever, that they would get both of those fees?
No. The thought behind the tampering and destruction was if they've cut off our lock, if they've destroyed a lid or a meter box, or the meter itself. So right now, what we do when we disconnect water, we literally just turn it off. If you know how, you can go out there and turn it back on. we have locked them before, and then people cut the locks. So we did not have this equipment tampering fee before. The other alternative is to pull the meter. So most of the time, there's not going to be a destruction cost involved. So it just depends. You know, if we would like to charge both to encourage people not to do that, that would be great. You know, again, we have a couple of frequent flyers.
Is that police? Is that by someone? So someone who has enough knowledge to reconnect clandestinely to the system, you wouldn't know that unless somebody reported it.
So we will now, with AMI meters, we are able to go in and pull live readings. And so if we've cut your water off, and then we go and pull a reading and see that you have active consumption when you have not actually paid your back charges, then we know that it's been reconnected.
So if you disconnect someone, you're going to leave the AMI reader in place?
It's a meter. It's a meter just like the other meters. So it doesn't really look any different.
So if I try to embezzle some water, then you would know about it.
I'm going to know about it. And now, if you hook up to our system, I'm going to find you.
Okay, what does it cost to renewal during business hours?
To reinstate it during business hours, it does not have a fee.
Okay.
That's what the disconnection fee
and
covers.
What do you do to disconnect sewer?
It's a meter. It's a meter just like our water meters.
So there is a meter?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that. And are we going to continue not cutting water off on Fridays?
Yes, that's state mandated.
Okay. Because, I mean, you're better to reestablish it without authorization than to call you out Friday or Saturday night to get it put on after hours.
And then we're going to cut you off again. So if you have reestablished it, let's say on a Friday evening without authorization, and then we pull that on Monday, we will go back out and cut your water back off.
You're better off to pay your bill and then have it cut back on Monday morning after I've reestablished it.
So if you want to get around the system,
okay.
There are always ways.
And the other thing that...
You're making up a scenario that now she does have policies in place that we don't do on Fridays. We just don't do it on Fridays.
Well, I know.
Well, that's state mandated.
But it did happen.
I have no doubt.
The other thing that...
So you didn't pay your bill?
No, it wasn't me, but I've got a constituent called.
Yeah.
That was a constituent called, and it was Friday.
Yeah.
And he called, and it went. Long story short, I told him it was better off to go out there and.
We had the policy internally anyway, and then the state mandated it as of last July.
I remember. Looking at this, the only thing that I would look at to leave the rates where they are is the discontinuance of the sewer and water. Leave them at 35, because if they can't pay the bill, there's no need to raise it to make it worse. But other than that, I'd let the rates go where they are. And I think we could add that to Mr. Chriscoe's.
Yeah, I will. To be honest, I think we need to raise the fee charges as well, simply because we can always work with those people to lump it into payments down to pay it off as they go. But there is one clarification that I have to make to option 2 for the water. The master meter additional fee would be $25.50, not $22.50. But other than that, I think we advertise for a public hearing with option 2 with the change to the master meter additional fee, and I think we advertise it at the proposed fee charge chart that's in the packet as well.
So is that your motion, Mr.?
So
Second.
Moved and
The
second.
We can bring them back down. but I
We don't
think
have to
we
bring it back down.
That's fine. I'm fine with that, but I think we need to advertise it there.
All right. Ms. Steele?
Dr. Orth?
Yes.
Mr. Hutson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Chriscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bazzani?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosia?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson? The motion carries.
I don't guess you need my last slide.
Thank you, Ms. Legg.
Why didn't you put that slide up a whole lot earlier?
Mr. Chair, now, does that include the fees? Except the two that Mr. Hudson talked about?
said leave
No, sir.
We're going to advertise them as presented
As
in
presented.
the packet. That's what
Okay,
my
it
motion
would have been
says.
nice if all of this had been, like, laid out ahead of time. 'Cause- Okay.
You say you were making your job harder?
No, I think he's talking about in the motion.
No, I just, yeah, in the motion itself, you've advertised, you're going to advertise a public hearing, and you've made it vaguely clear as to what you want.
It is vague.
Okay. 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 Ms. Steele?
Yes, the board members may recall when we held our first budget meetings, discussions, we had discussions about the state's rates and the state providing a bonus in addition to the 3% COLA. So this is a one-time state bonus of 1.5%. So again, it's not a salary increase, it is a bonus. And the state approved this, and we, if the board would like to provide this for county employees, we need to make a decision tonight, and there's a chart there that's been put at your plate, and you might want to bring that up, sorry for the public, and at your place. And Ms. Calloway mentioned, and I'll have you come up too if you don't mind, Maria. She mentioned that we have additional funds in our vacancy savings, as people have had to work a little bit harder since we had some open positions and things, that there is vacancy savings to cover this. The one option would be for all employees. Then there are other options. I mean, you do not have to do this. You will not be held anything against the county. It's not a demand, but we would not receive the state funding that goes for the comp board employees unless you provide for at least the comp board. In the past, we have certain people who are comp board and people who are working right next to them in the same department, and it would be very awkward for, especially in the sheriff's department, for one employee. I mean, it just really is impossible to do it because they're same position, but one's comp board and the other one is not. And then so comp board only, or everybody in those departments, or all employees, so that it's across.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bazzani.
So, Ms. Steele, if we're going to pay for this through vacancy savings, how many vacant jobs are you going to cut out to pay for this?
Well, the total cost you can see in the entire amount is including social services and utilities would be $370, and then with a
None.
None,
Correct.
because we
You're not gonna
have
cut out
this in
any vacancy.
it's not cutting vacancy savings, it's not cutting vacant positions, it is, the savings have already happened because the positions were open during this year.
Okay, the
So-
savings already happened. so
Yes,
it's not-
Right.
the savings has already been
Okay,
incurred.
I'm good, thank you.
So the net after the state part was 270.
Okay. Yes, sir. Mr. Board members, what do you like here?
And there's not a resolution, this is
No,
by motion.
This motion.
I'll make the motion that we provide the 1.5 bonus to all full-time and part-time employees at a cost to the county of $270,534 on June 30th.
Second.
One second.
Are we doing it next year or this year?
It's this year. It's on, with the vacancy savings of this year.
But the
So I've talked with the comp board, and Ms. Kersey has also talked with state on the social services side. They said it is fine to go in our fiscal year 25 if June 30th is our normal pay date. It said, the state legislation says July 1st.
I just wanted to confirm.
Yes,
And-
thank
and
you.
I wanted
I
to-
did that as well.
Clarify too, with the way that we have our part-time employees, we have people who work part-time year-round versus the work is required. So we have not included the work is required people in this figure, but it would be the part-time regulars, as we call them. Just make sure.
All
Okay.
right, good, thank you. Ms. Steele?
Okay, Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Chriscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bazzani? Mr. Nicosia?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Dr. Orth? Motion carries. I can tell you the employees will be very surprised and very pleased. Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Next is,
But Ms. Steele,
yes,
for that 1.5% increase, don't they have to work until December to get that 1.5%?
Especially in administration, yes.
if you're thinking about leaving. Okay, moving on, gentlemen, moving on to our board appointments. Let's see, I see we have vacant still the Board of Equalization, is that correct? No one interested? And also we have the Planning Commission.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, Dr. Orth.
Okay, bear with me on this one. We have an individual that's very interested in this position. He's my neighbor. He's a young kid, 33 years old, married, wonderful family, wonderful family. He would like to be on this commission. However, here's the but. He works for Ferguson, and he's got a new position. He travels a lot. He was very concerned that he may miss some meetings. And I said, I'm going to talk to the board tonight about this as to whether you think this is appropriate. Mr. Hutson and I met with him the other day, and we had a great conversation. I've been talking with him off and on over the last few days since we met. He would like the position, but he would feel really bad if he missed a number of meetings. And I said, listen, let me talk to the board tonight. I said, why don't we approve the position and let's see how this goes the first year. He's a really good kid. I mean, I've known this person for his entire life because he lived next to me. And it's a wonderful family. He's dynamic. I think he would really help. And what? Oh, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Mr. Cody Weaver as the Abingdon District. Whatever. Thank you.
Okay,
Cody.
Cody.
If I could vote, I'd vote yes too.
What?
If I know him, if I could vote, I'd vote yes too.
All right, we have moved to second. All in favor? Okay.
And Ms. Cohen, if you need information about him, I'll make sure that he gets in touch with you, or I'll get it for you. Just tell me what you need. Because I know he's traveling right now.
Okay, moving on, County Attorney Adams.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm just going to figure out what kind of application and connection fee I have to pay.
Okay.
For you, it's double what we advertised tonight.
Yep. Boards and commission reports.
One, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Excuse me. I know that there's been some, Ms. Steele, you may have seen this, there's going to be some changes at the Planning District Commission coming probably between now and the end of the year. I will share more as we get things figured out, but there'll be some changes in leadership at the Planning District Commission coming forward for us, and it should not change any of the work that's going on or anything else, but there will be some changes coming forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chriscoe. Any other board commission reports? Moving on, supervisor discussion. No supervisor discussion. Okay, no closed meeting. I guess that just leaves us one thing.
Second.
All in favor? We adjourn.